Hello, Tammy Davis. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate you being here. Today, I wanted to briefly talk about essential oils as they relate to colds and flus, although I'm not going to jump into providing you with a list of oils that are good, for that, because truthfully, they all are. They all have some level of antimicrobial, antibacterial, antiviral, antiseptic, depending on the severity, if you actually have a full infection. So you get the idea. The truth is though, they all have that capability at some level. That said, though, I'm not a big fan of the word anti. At the same time, I recognize why we use it. So if you look at any book or website, you'll often see these properties that are provided. So you can kind of get an idea and begin to select which ones make sense for you if what you're looking for is just to prevent illness, since we're coming into that season. However, anti means against. And again, I recognize why we use that word, because that prefix, because this is the way we think. This is the way we operate. This is the way we've been trained. We have antibiotics, we have antivirals. So we already recognize this going out and ridding ourselves of these bacteria and viruses and fungus and such. Although we're really, with the oils, we're not really doing that, because truthfully, nature doesn't seek to kill. Yes, there are some levels of destruction that occur depending on what's going on. We recognize, natural forest fires as a means of Mother Nature kind of clearing the land in order to restore. But destruction is not necessarily a bad thing. This is where I come in and say sickness is not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes if you're kind of pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and you end up getting sick, it's really the body's way of going, whoa, relax, take it easy, take some time for yourself. It could very well, it's a very strong message, truthfully. But here nor there, the oils themselves have the ability to inactivate. Now, what's interesting is, as I was coming in to sit down and make this video, I wanted to stop and think about how am I going to present this, because when you say inactivate, it makes it seem like we're killing it. But truth be told, again, if you're going to inactivate your computer, you're not killing it. You're just turning it off, or taking the battery out, depending on what you're trying to do with it. Same thing with your television set. The same thing can be said for our genes. And that's not actually a very common term, truthfully, with our genes. We don't talk about genes being inactivated or activated. I will in my videos, if you've seen any other ones. If you haven't, I frequently use those words. I don't call them defects. Now, if you're familiar with the methylation tests that are available, which are your saliva tests to test your DNA, you'll often be told about genetic defects. MTHFR is a very popular acronym for genetic defects, but I don't necessarily align myself with genetic defects. I know that our methylation pathway, the genes along that pathway have the ability to activate and deactivate themselves. I'm also very well aware that the pharmaceuticals that we have the ability to inhibit. They can be agonist or antagonist, which is activating or deactivating certain genetic receptors. So there are mechanisms for making this happen, but even medications don't kill a genetic receptor. They may block it, but they're not killing it. They're inactivating it. Okay, this is what oils do. They will inactivate. Our very own hormones will inactivate or activate various genetic receptors. This is how we actually have come to understand how to design our medications. So when we recognize the fact that any number of chemicals has the ability to modify genetic expression and inactivate and deactivate, or I should say activate and deactivate these functions, then we can apply that to the oils and say they have the ability to inactivate those organisms that aren't in service of our system. Now, this is where it's a very strange line. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a very strange line here, because as I'm speaking about this, I'm also aware that people have tried to use oils and not gotten great success when it comes to cold and flus. They are not able to prevent something from happening. And of course, the very first thing that they want to do is blame the oil. That it's the oil wasn't strong enough, the oil wasn't the right oil. And while I'm not there and I can't say for 100% accuracy whether that's the case or not, I can say that if your intention is to kill something, then nature will not be controlled. You know, I've referenced something from the 1970s a couple of times now, which is a commercial that was for a margarine that came out, and she said it's not nice to fool Mother Nature. And I'm a big believer in that. You can't fool Mother Nature. She will not be controlled. And if your thought process is to actually kill something within nature, then there will be an equal and opposite reaction. So if you're using something to actually kill something, chances are that it's not going to be as effective, because there's energy behind everything. And if you are at all familiar with anything that talks about, or anyone that talks about mindfulness, awareness, consciousness, it doesn't make any bit of difference what your religious or spiritual beliefs are. If you're familiar with these beliefs and bringing mindfulness to the table, then you're well aware of the encouragement to think positively. If you're familiar with Dr. Bruce Lipton and the biology of belief, you're familiar with that your thoughts actually have an impact. And there's plenty of other scientists that have done the research and been able to demonstrate the effects that our thoughts have on the way the body responds. And as I said, every chemical has the ability to modify genetic expression. This includes our hormones. And if we are, as we're thinking, the chemistry is flowing, and it's quite possible that you are actually interfering with your body's ability to protect you. You're worried about getting sick, therefore you're stressed, and stress redirects the energy in the system. So just because you're using something to protect you doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be completely effective, because you may have altered the way the body receives it, hence receptor. So the list of essential oils is, well, if you can find a book with all of your essential oils available, or even more, there's a lot of oils out there. You have quite the selection available to you. So which ones to pick really depends on what your preferences are in the way of aromas. The other thing would be determined by what's going on with you, mentally, physically, emotionally, medically. All of those actually do play a role in it. And so selecting the right oils for protecting you really comes down to what your intention is behind using these oils. Now, I'm not saying that every oil is going to be beneficial. There's a number of oils on the market that aren't really of, I don't want to use the word therapeutic, because that's just a marketing term. That's really not everything. Again, and if you haven't heard me say this, I'll say it now. Therapeutic means having a physiological effect. So if you use bleach to clean something, and you've touched you've it's made contact in your skin, you've now created a physiological effect. That doesn't mean Clorox or bleach, rather has a therapeutic effect in the sense of medicinal. It does have a physiological effect. So therapeutic is kind of a broad term. That said, not every essential oil has the ability to have a medicinal effect, a remedial, have the ability to foster quality health. I'll say it that way. It doesn't have the ability due to the structure. It may not be an authentic oil. It may have other chemicals added to it. So the quality does matter. But if you are using authentic and genuine essential oils and it has the ability to inactivate, then the intention that you have with it is it to inactivate. Because when we inactivate something, in the case of oils and these organisms, if an essential oil has the ability to affect genetic function in you, it has the ability to affect genetic function in another organism, because DNA is DNA. And it's just the structure of the DNA that differentiates all of us from everything else. So that said, if it has the ability to modify genetic expression within the human organism, it has the ability to modify genetic expression within the bacterial or viral organism, which will then pretty much just shut it off, in which case now the body can eliminate it, and therefore you are now protected. Please understand that you are being exposed, or you are exposed, I shouldn't say being exposed, we, all of us, are exposed to countless bacteria and viruses every single day. The fact that you don't walk around sick 365 days a year is demonstration of how effective your body is at actually protecting you. When you come into the season of what's known as the cold and flu season, there are ways to protect yourself without having to go and get a vaccination, and preventing illness in your home. And truthfully, you can diffuse it. You don't have to apply it to the body. You can just simply diffuse it. But this is actually how they work. They don't go and kill these bacteria and viruses, because if they did, we wouldn't have any left. But yet they keep coming back, and they are definitely resistant to the antibiotics that we have, and they are even becoming more resistant to the antivirals we have. So that said, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're resistant to the oils, because the oils don't kill, they inactivate. So continuing to use oils, diffusing them throughout your home and or on your desk and in your car are advisable, because you're getting them into your system and they're in the air. There was a study done, I don't know how long ago, several years ago, in Japan, in a corporation. The corporation, somebody along the administrative team decided to diffuse lemon oil into the building. And they were just going to test it, because there was a lot of absenteeism going on. People were always calling in sick. So they wanted to see what they could do. And so they started diffusing lemon oil throughout the building. And what they found was that not only did absenteeism rate drop, more people kept coming in, they were not getting sick as frequently, the productivity level rose. So there you have it. Now, I don't necessarily recommend lemon oil for everyone. And there's a whole number of reasons why that will be, that I'm not going to go into here. I am beginning to do individual videos on, videos on individual oils. I'll say it that way. So, and I'm going to be posting those on my Patreon, within my Patreon community. I can put the link below that you can have access to, but I'm not going to talk about, I'm not talking about the oils in a way that we are already familiar with. I am including that the things that you can already find in books and on websites. That's an important piece. But the other part that's not being discussed is why or why not use oils, specific oils, when to use them and when not to use them. And that's what's being included in this community. So if you'd like to check it out, or you like to, kind of see, $3 a month, and you can kind of get an idea of how I'll be covering the oils. On that note, though, I leave you with the fact that essential oils are awesome choices for protecting you during the cold and flu season. Just know that they do not kill. They will inactivate these bacteria and viruses. They will protect you as long as your intention is to just redirect the energy. And I know that maybe sound kind of strange, but keep in mind you have the ability to affect your chemistry. You have the ability to modify the way your cells respond to your thoughts and to the world around you. So if you really want to keep yourself protected, don't seek to destroy, don't seek to kill, simply seek to inactivate that what doesn't serve you. On that note, I hope you're having a great day wherever you are, and thanks for watching.